while you're coaching class in the mornings.
Yeah.
And we're live.
Can you fucking not do that?
Whoa, 5 seconds.
Shouldn't have hit live yet.
You're on a good roll about wearing flip-flops while coaching. Do not do that.
Yeah.
If you are a coach,
That's
do
bad.
not.
But what if they're Gucci slides?
Dude, I don't care. Save that for your Sunday brunch. Okay, you can wear your Gucci slides on your Sunday brunch.
Yeah.
You can wear your Snooks house slippers and pawn them off as shoes on your own time.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't greatly have a problem with slides as a whole, but I think it has to do with like how you're presenting yourself.
Exactly. But
In
also
your
coaching
professional
movement.
space.
What happens if you get up and you're going to do a toast to bar? Come on.
I think that, I don't know, I think there's something to be said for like earning the right to be a little bit more casual, like in your presentation, right? Like
Sure.
If you deliver a 110% effort, like day in and day out, and you have one day where you're wearing slides, like, okay, like,
yeah, I was
it's also within context of what's on the board and what you have to demo and like those types of things. But if you're doing that every day, it's a problem.
Yeah, and if you're not good, coach, or you're not stellar mover, come on, put some shoes on. Let's get with it. Like even like I keep my shoes untied because I don't like I do it when I train. I tie them because I don't want them to fly off. But I keep my shoes untied because like my feet kind of swell and I don't like it. And they don't fly off when I coach and when I demo stuff. But I do try to wear shoes so I can demo things appropriately. And like, because what people see is what they're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're moving like doo-doo because you're wearing slides, your clients are gonna move like doo-doo. So welcome everyone. You came in on a tangent and we were talking about slides and coaching. It's terrible, but good vibes. Shuckers. Good vibes. Playing reggae music and hitting the deadlifts, baby. I'm down for the vibe. I want some uniformity and professionalism.
Yeah.
Like if shoes weren't so expensive, well, we tried to do this. We actually did this at Currahee. We buy everyone shoes. We should do that again.
That's what's up.
We all had matching shoes.
Brad sent
us
all shoes, which was cool.
Yeah.
But like trainers, we gotta get some trainers for everybody. Now that I just said that, if Marissa, if you're listening, sorry, I'm gonna buy a shoe for all our
I think that quarterly or like once a year, like as a special, kick back to the coaches, I think it just shows you care. Like it, as someone who's been
aware, like, and you had like, okay,
then you have no excuse.
Yeah,
right.
Being the asshole, I'm gonna come in.
That's what NC Fit did. NC Fit would be like 50% off of all NC Fit apparel. They would give us shoes, shirts, etc., that were all either NC Fit or Reebok branded, so that we all were uniform. And it was like you had no excuse not to.
Yeah.
All right, this week's podcast is gonna be about training and training education as a coach. So that's why kind of the tirade. We were talking about stuff on the front end and got us off on the shoes and stuff, but we'll still talk about that. It's an important thing. Like I was talking to our chiropractor here, and we were just talking about branding, and we're trying to move into a new space and build that out and like what all that looks like. And I was saying how like it's always a progression of something, and you're like, okay, well, like let's get these shirts, and then like shirts don't always fit people the same way. Like Heather's a lot shorter than I am. The shirts I like, she doesn't necessarily like, and like it's tough hitting that mark because you don't necessarily, to like what Harley was saying, like want to stunt people's ability to express themselves, but you also want to have some uniformity and consistency. And I was joking with the chiropractor. I was like, man, don't be doing like quarter zips and polos. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I mean, unless he was like, I kind of like those things. I was like, oh, that's fine, I guess. Sorry, I was hating on it. But like, I mean, it just, you got to find your brand and your style, and to bring, like Harley's saying, that level of professionalism, but conversely, inside of a fitness space or a training space, being a really high level coach, like you look at Louis Simmons coming in, sweatshirt on. I don't know what type of shoes he's probably wearing. I don't think he's wearing slides, but
Slides.
Definitely slides. New Balance, Nike Monarchs.
There you go. One of the best strength coaches in the world, and it's like no one cared. Because you could produce. The education was there, the training was there. Like, so yeah, to what Harley's saying, like eventually you can kind of get away with it. There's some leniency, but you gotta be good. You gotta be darn good.
Well, it's like how Dave Spitz would sit there and coach, and
In the
he
chair.
had his chair.
Oh God, I hated
He
that.
just sat down. He didn't even like get up.
The wheel around.
Basically.
I know. I've
Oh
seen
my
the
God.
office chair.
And like,
But then everyone thinks that weightlifting coaching, it's fine that you just like sit there.
it was fine that
just yell
he
at-
sat down.
Right. Exactly.
Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
People want you to walk around and actually coach them,
I like being active. So like sometimes that stuff, I shouldn't get under my skin, but like when I see that, some things will get under my skin. But phenomenal coach. Like he can coach from a chair. You go
Sure.
ahead. Like being in there in the weightlifting hall with him in there and like him coaching and hearing what he's saying, it's like he would get out of the chair though. So let's not.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like, dude, the work he could do from the chair, easy.
Yeah.
He's good. Real good. So like that's again another thing. Like you don't need to until you need to. You know? All right. Before we start this, we're gonna start with the safety protocol changes after the 2024 CrossFit Games. And I think some of this, like what we're gonna talk about, may be sensitive for some people. I'm gonna approach this from more of a neutral point and then just some objective things, maybe some business things. Because I'm gonna bring up some things about the PFA here, which if you're familiar in the space, we'll just cover it.
Well,
We know a lot of people follow us.
Why don't you give some background about like exactly what this is, like why this came out?
Okay. Well, I mean,
Just because, yeah.
yeah. Well, I don't want to be dry, but I mean, obviously we lost Lazar Ducic at the 2024 CrossFit Games in event 1, the swim event, drowned. I don't know. Well, we speculated he drowned. I don't know if that's actually it. The cause of death for Texas was accidental on, what do you call it? The morgue, the body examiner.
Yeah.
Was the cause of death was accidental.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I just want to be sensitive to the subject. I mean, it appears as though it went through the third-party investigation. We're getting this information now. Reading through it once and then kind of hitting the key points for you guys. It looks as though not that CrossFit's not at fault, and I don't want people to get like upset about that. And still stuff has to come out. But from this that you read, they were in line with the expectations and the guidelines set forth for where they held the event. But obviously something tragic happened, accidental, what have you. I don't know. I'm not involved in just reading everything else that everybody else could read that's on game site. So CrossFit said that they're grateful to everyone who spoke with the investigators during the difficult time to provide witness accounts, critical evidence, and valuable insight. They're not going to publish the full report based on privacy and legal considerations. The result of the investigation has been reported to the board of directors. Their focus now is to move forward with the actions to maximize our continued commitment to safety at the CrossFit Games. So they're moving on with next steps. All I can assume is that, maybe there was fault found. We're probably never going to know. That's going to be between CrossFit and the Ducic family based on that sentence paragraph alone. And we just got to move forward. So I'll just list the few things that they're going to work on and then not go into too much detail, and we can talk about them. But supplementing the CrossFit sport leadership team. That one, they're going to bring in somebody who's a leader that will directly report to Dave and who will continue leading CrossFit sports organization, and to the CEO of Don Fall. They will be expected to provide regular briefings on CrossFit safety plans and posture. They'll hire this role externally, and they're beginning this search immediately. So they're going to bring somebody in and be under CrossFit for that. They're going to create a CrossFit Games safety advisory board. CrossFit will recruit advisory board members with diverse expertise, including emergency responders, former athletes, to ensure comprehensive perspective and oversight. There's more here when you go to read it. I'm just reading like the highlights. They're going to suspend open water events. So they're going to have pools be swimming events where the safety team can closely monitor every athlete. They're going to enhance pre-event rehearsals, communications protocols, and emergency resources. which is good. So increased safety. That one, there's a lot there, but I think it's straightforward. Expand mental health and emotional support resources, which they did pretty well with the CrossFit Medical Society, stepped up, took ownership of that. And it doesn't say it in here, but I think maybe they'll probably partner with them to continue to do that. And then establish a CrossFit Athlete Council. In addition to the CrossFit Games Safety Advisory Board, they will establish a board of athlete council to ensure athletes from the CrossFit community and share feedback and greater influence on the CrossFit protocols of competition safety, broader athlete welfare, business of the sport. And unlike prior CrossFit councils, the Athlete Council will be elected by fellow athletes and will represent athletes from all divisions of competition. Yep. In closing, these changes reflect CrossFit's continued commitment to safety. We're confident these adjustments will enhance our ability to respond swiftly and effectively in any situation while fostering a safer environment for all athletes and event participants. We look forward to the 2025 season and plan to communicate important details before the end of the week. So there it is. We'll hear about the season of CrossFit by the end of the week. So what's interesting only to me, and I only want to talk about it selfishly, is because I did get in the comments. I love fighting sometimes in comments on the barbell spin PFA board of advisors election. And when I read this, so one of my things was, okay, I'm all for the PFA. I'm all for organizations like that. Just like the NFL has the NFLPA, NHL has the NHLPA. Like they have athlete organizations. Some of my things were like business-wise, how does this make sense? Like, how is the PFA going to make money? How is CrossFit even going to listen to them? Like, are you just shaking your fist at the sun? And with this post alone, selfishly puts me in the right, because CrossFit is clearly going to do everything the PFA is setting out to do. And maybe they partner with them, maybe they don't, but it doesn't sound like they're going to play ball with those guys. And then also, like, the PFA should move forward and do what they're doing. I just question how they're going to fund it. Because you look at like something like the NHL, every player pays $30 a day to their union that basically pays into the players' organization. And there's like, it's like 900 players in the NHL. So they gain like $56,000 a month from those players. So that's where like it's funding that organization. I just don't see, I could see where like, okay, now my other question is like, how is CrossFit going to fund like these extra things? Because as an affiliate owner, that's potentially where my money is going as well. And that was one of my complaints about the PFA of like, look, I like what you're doing, but you know, where's our involvement? You've kind of excluded us because we're affiliate owners. We're not, you know, athletes or whatever, what have you, or however they view us in the ecosystem. But now CrossFit is going to do this thing. And obviously the money is going to come from us in one way or another, or training or certifications. Because as we all know, the sport's not producing a livelihood there.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, good stuff. You guys have any comments? I'm glad they're doing this. I'm interested to see what the PFA's next move is. It does say in here that Dave Casper is going to continue. Yeah.
My thing is like, if this is all under CrossFit, how does it keep it from being just a bunch of yes men? Like they all still work for CrossFit, you know, and that's the thing that the PFAA had, was that they didn't work for CrossFit. So like they had the ability to push back or whatever needed to be done. Whereas these people work for CrossFit. So it's like, well, you either fall in line or we'll find someone else who does.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And if the PFA continues, they could ask the athletes to pay dues and then unionize against CrossFit and be like, hey, we're going to strike, you know, the same way the NFL lockout was.
Yeah.
You know, the only problem with that is you think about the sport, like it's a good idea in theory. Look at right now, Fittest to the Coast, only because we have a lot of people who are like on the cusp of qualifying, like CJ and Marissa, for example. We're outside of going to that competition. And so like, let's say those people or qualify or get invited or what have you, but they're going to go on strike.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's 100 other people that'll be like, you know, sign me up. Like no big deal. Cause the only thing, what do they call it? in the NFL, like when you come in and you do is it like a scab? What do they call it? When you cross the picket line and you go play?
Oh,
I know when you
I'm-
scab a race in marathons is when you basically just show up to a race that you didn't qualify for and run the course.
Oh, okay.
sounds
What
about
is
right.
it? What is the dude, like the replacements? What is that movie that
Yeah, the replacements.
Transformers.
no, what's his name? From The Matrix is in.
Keanu Reeves. That's a
Keanu
great
Reeves.
movie.
Yeah, but they are the replacement football players for the football players that are on strike. So like that could still happen. So where does the power go? That you know what I mean? Like it's a weird.
Yeah.
You'd have to unionize every single person that signs up for the Open. Like,
Right.
guys, we're gonna strike on CrossFit. Like,
Because the sport's going to keep rolling.
yeah,
There's
that's
going to be people who look at it as like, cool, I get to go to the games now because 50 other
Right.
people decided not to. or even worse, the top 300 in the world in each division decided not to. And then the 301st and on are like, hell yeah, it's my time.
Hey,
You get to see normal people doing it. Yep.
Exactly.
I mean, I would say those people are still abnormal, but
Well, you know what I mean.
I know.
Tyler. So as someone who at some point in my heyday made it to an individual semifinal, my all-time highest was only 350.
Right
no, my
Khalipa,
what?
right? You just sound like Jason Khalipa. In my heyday.
No, I'm saying like that was a semifinal individualist was
A year
350 in the world.
Oh. I see
I'm
what
saying 350 in the world. Like you're still people are good at that point.
Okay. I stand corrected. I'm sorry.
I'm falling in line with what you were saying, Todd, is like that's not normal.
Sorry,
Like,
I thought you were just pulling the in 28.
no, hell no. I don't care what I did. I'm just giving you context of what that looks like to be 300.
Got it. Perfect.
Anyways, yeah, I think that the PFAA and this new, the future board that CrossFit's going to put forth, it's entertaining to see CrossFit be like, yeah, you're doing a pretty good job over the PFAA, so we're going to just copy and paste and we're going to fill it with our own athletes and our own medical staff or our own, resources, because that's sort of what it outlined there with people who have expertise in the space, people who have either been former athletes, and then or refer to current athletes. And it's like, that's basically the PFAA in a nutshell. It just may not be the same athletes, right?
Right.
And maybe it is. Maybe they're going to overlap a little bit because the people who are directly involved, want to be involved. But
and maybe
to Tyler's point, if they don't want to, fall in line as he put it, but they may not be as objective to providing criticism and be as active in, speaking up against what's going on. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that would be really interesting though. Like they wrote all this stuff in here, obviously. And like when I read it and I read the entirety of the thing, I hate to say this because I've been trying to like be more like good intended when I see and read things in my life. Because I'm very like, no, that person's like doing something negative. I've been trying to be better about it, but like instantly I'm like, this is a huge middle finger to the PFAA. Like that's how I feel. And maybe that's just me. Again, I'm like prefacing it with like, this is how I respond typically. Like this is nefarious actions. And like,
maybe it is, maybe it's not. I think that even if it's not, I think from an ownership perspective, which let's think about Dave's background, right? Like SEALs, etc. You have to sort of take ownership for what has happened, but they have investors they have to answer to. It's an organization. There's lots of layers to their system, so they can't just speak willy-nilly and be like, "Oh, it's my fault." But at the same time, they have to take it upon themselves as a brand and say, "Hey, this happened. We are going to level up safety, and here's our actionable items to, head in that direction." And it makes sense that it aligns with what the PFAA are doing themselves, because it was a good, it's a good idea. And so whether or not CrossFit wants to work with an outside organization, clearly this shows that they don't, at least not at the superficial level of saying we're going to refer to the PFAA. They
could have said that in the post in the on the game site. You're right. And because they didn't, I'm inferring that they're not going to. I think it'd be a good move. Like I do agree with Tyler. I I have some problems with the PFA on a business level because I just don't see how they're going to make money. But if they pair with CrossFit and CrossFit's willing to play ball the way Tyler's talking about, they could make money, and they could make it the same way. Like I've used the NFL and NHL examples, the same way they partner with players' organizations. Like they could easily do that. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
It's just, the fact that they're not publicly stating the PFA's name
Yeah.
is why it's easy to infer that they're not going to correlate with them.
Right.
Unless they're just waiting until they have formed a solidified agreement of what that looks like and what the financials look like. Are they allocating funds to PFA to do that type of work? If there is a team partnership there, we'll find out. But at the same time, like maybe they're just trying to protect themselves again. They have to be selective in what they say because they have so many people to answer to in this new system. So
yeah,
just like a lot of business moves, it's almost easier to keep your cards to your chest. Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's one of the other criticisms of everything. And I'm really wanting to say much on the back end. Like we've talked about not saying anything about it, not talking about it because we don't know anything, and we're respecting the process of those things. And even, we have friends that coached at the games, had privy to everything that happened, and they still felt like they didn't know a whole lot. So just let it happen, let things go how they go. I mean, I don't know what type of legal proceedings went on, like, and sometimes people don't agree with the outcomes of like legal proceedings, and that's just what they had to go through. That's how it is. Like, yeah, it makes it really unfortunate. Selfishly for us, I'm glad that they came to resolve. They're going to increase measures. They're looking into other avenues. Love them or hate them. In our off time, Marissa and I really like watching the documentaries from the games. And I really like Dave. I think he does a good job for the thing that he does. And I think and I know like whatever else, I think it's hilarious. The show he puts on, like in 2016 with the cornrows, it's just like, it makes me laugh a little. And like, and if you watch the documentary from Fittest on Earth, like the first one they did that you could get on Apple, when he gives the speech about like, this is the hardest CrossFit games you're ever going to do. And if you feel unsafe or something, you could let us know and your CrossFit games will be over. And like, but in that same thing, he like a little bit after he gives that speech, he's like, oh, I might have overdid that speech. Like he's just doing it for the show and the spectacle of it. And I think if you miss that point, you could easily misinterpret what he's doing and what he's saying.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's ever like what happened. He wasn't trying to do that. And I think he hasn't said anything. I think he probably feels really, really bad about it. And like, he has a compassionate heart from what I've seen, and I've met him a couple of times. Like, I just don't get that vibe from him. He's like, I don't care. I don't think that's the case, but I like Dave in the position that he's in. I think it's funny. It adds value, in my opinion, in that way.
Yeah. I mean, I've met Dave a few times. His demeanor has always been like, I'm going to stop and give you the time of day. His leadership is second to none. He's going to give you, his full attention for the moment you have with him. And, he's a busy guy, so he may not have a long moment, but he's going to sit there and talk to you. And I've heard nothing but good things from people who have worked under him, in the sense that he is a great leader. To your point, Todd, he cares a lot, and he is directly involved with his people very closely, which is probably, to Tyler's point, it's like, if he is that good of a leader and that tied in, like people who are hired under him within CrossFit, are they going to confront him with objective criticism? And it's like, I don't know. Or is he, has such like this, influence that they're just going to like figure it out and be like, no, we die by this messaging, and I'm not saying that to be critical of him or the process. I think that that's just his potential. It's like, it's a downfall for sure, but it's like, that's a byproduct of the type of training and leadership qualities he's developed through his own past, which is, SEALs, military, at, a very special and unique level that no one can really relate to. So it's hard to really understand and talk about this much deeper than those relatively superficial analysis.
Yeah.
and reflections
Yeah,
because
which is, I think, for most people, right? And like we're only speaking out, like I've been fortunate enough, and so have you, Harley, and like we've been to the ranch. I've met Dave a handful of times in other settings than the CrossFit Games. I've talked to him at the CrossFit Games, talked to him at regionals, semifinals. So I've had enough interaction with him to get a general idea of what his outward and operating behavior and position is in those settings and those capacities. At the ranch, he's never been teaching in L1 or L2 that I was at, but he was there because it's his place. And I've had casual conversation with him where he's a different person because there's not a pressure. Like he came back from a run on one of the L2s and I was like talking to him and he just like went on a run. And then we're just talking like normal human beings. So my understanding of him is a little bit different, I think, but that's all that I think most people get unless you're on the inner circle. And I'm only like quote unquote advocating for him because I like the role he plays in the space, you know, and I like people when they make the wrestling analogy, you know, of him being like the Vince McMahon or like the heel of stuff. I just like that. I think there is a level of showmanship that you have to have because Rogue was cool. And yesterday I watched Katie Henniger on Sevon, and like I think what's missing from Rogue is a little bit of personality. Like Rogue is sick, but there's like not enough storylines. Like they do try to do a really good job with the athlete's personality, but it's like other than like, hi, I'm Danielle Brandon. Like, then what? You know, it's cool when you have like Hopper or like even the commentary was good, like with Sean Woodland and Adrian Conway, you know, bringing up the things about like Hopper's the king of the Echo bike or whatever. And like the battle that Hopper and Dallin Pepper have and like bringing those stories in, I think it makes it more entertaining for people. And I think without that personality, and you can have anyone do it, I just think it needs to be injected.
I was equally entertained with like the strongmen because I knew nothing about them. And so like just hearing and just sort of forming my own picture of what their personalities were, you know, through their very quirky and different sort of mode of presentation. Like we had Kyle McSherry was an old coach for the Pack, right? And he was into strongman for a period of time and he'd wear the brightest colors. I'm like, I don't really get it. But then you watch strongman and we watch strongman and all of these competitors at the highest level of sport are wearing, you know, kilts, and some of them wearing kilts because they were in Scotland, of course. And then others are wearing this like neon colors and these really bright headbands, bandanas. And I'm like, oh, it's truly just in their culture. Right. Yeah. And you sort of see the people who are more loud in their presentation, then you see people who are much more reserved and just are there to do the work. So I found there was a lack of storytelling within like the outer and the bigger picture of the season, to your point. And it's hard to like really encompass all of those details, I think, into a singular broadcast about one event. But yeah, I feel like there has to be someone and something spearheading it, as whether it be the MC or the director or whatever. You know, to your point, Dave's role.
I don't know how to do a poll. But CJ wanted to do a live poll. Let's do a poll. I don't know how to. I was like trying to see if I could do one. I could ban the user though. I could ban CJ.
Yeah, ban CJ. She's like our most interactive person, and we're just gonna ban her.
Should Marissa is comment in the chat because I don't know how to do a live poll. I know you can put one up. I gotta learn that. I'll Google it later. Maybe next thing you could create more polls for stuff. But should Marissa and I accept the backfill invite for Fittest of the Coast? And then let's see. And the biggest danger of throwing down Fittest of the Coast is we get hooked and have a formal team comeback this season. That's true. That's true. You would get hooked. Oh, look, Renata says yes, they should. So you got one. You got one vote yes. We will end up with a tie. Oh, I see. Because of 4 people. Marissa's saying we got 4. They're into 4 users, like 4 watchers. So we'd end up with a tie. But Renata says yes, so you got 1.
I say yes.
Oh, yeah, you got 2 yeses. 2 yays.
Just because I want to see you guys bring it back. Let's go.
Yeah, Jigsaw 2026. Never forget.
2026, like 2016.
Or 2016. Dude, I am dumb. Anyways, yeah, 2016, Jigsaw. All right. Well, that news is, I mean, it's always like with heavy, obviously. because of the circumstances, but it's good things. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not somebody who like really calls for accountability in my life that way. Like it's like fire this like I'm just like, hey, say you did wrong, apologize, let's move forward. So because I'm like that, like that's the approach I'm going to take with this. And I know some people will be like, why do you give CrossFit so many chances? It's like just the same reason why I give Heather so many chances. You know what I mean?
Hey Heather, did you mop the floor today?
Of course I did.
All right.
Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, optimistically, they're showing some level of accountability in trying to move forward with better systems. We don't know much more than that, and that's okay.
Later this week, we're gonna get the season. So
yeah, and that's what I was gonna get to was that, and another good layer to that is that we're gonna learn a lot more about the season, and it'll ideally clear up, verify, or clarify, all these rumors that have been thrown around of like what may become.
Let's do that. Let's talk about that. What would you want it to be if you were in charge? What would you want it to be based on the rumors, like where it's gonna go, not on like. Don't be like, oh, I want to go back to regionals. Like, don't say that. Like based on the rumors we know of, like it's going to be all online, or there's going to be open quarters only for the age groups and blah, blah, blah. And then they're going to have their in-person thing with those separate entities, or there's going to be open quarters. Then some companies are going to step up and do sanctional style events like they did in 2019, but you can also qualify through the open, like all of those things on the table of the speculations. What would you, if you had the power, how would you want it?
I'm confused by Marissa's comment. It says LMAO Harley. What the hell did I do? Anyways.
Funny guy. You're a funny guy.
I think she was laughing at the fact that you were asking if I mopped the gym.
Okay, gotcha.
Everyone
that was a good one.
Heather, she doesn't do enough, God,
hey, you know what?
Never. I'm always just behind the 8 ball.
Dude, I just throw out so many zingers. I just don't really know how to keep up anymore.
Heather's not behind.
I'm Todd's punching bag. Finish that sentence. That's what it is.
That's true. But you've been my friend for almost 15 years. We homies, dog. It's chill. You brighten up my life, okay? I just want you to do a little more. Like when I was reading the dictionary today, I appreciate that you wanted to be engaged and also reading the dictionary. It was good.
I know. He told me he reads words to Ruth every day so that she could be
I'm
smarter.
starting to. Yeah, smarter than you was the joke.
Right. Constantly. Just freaking jab.
Listen, you got to be like Ricky in the gym, okay? You got to be like Ricky Ellis and just like zing me back. Like be on it. Just get a hit me with something, That fool, I hit him with.
Can we just take a moment to tell you like what he said yesterday?
No, but all right, here's your moment, Heather. All right, give him a jab. Get Todd.
There's no jabs.
I can't.
Just tell us Ricky Ellis's joke though, so everyone can get the picture, and then we'll go back to what you want.
Hey, real quick, I was asking how their time with Tyler was, and then Melissa was saying how she got so many compliments on all her muscles, and then he said that everyone forgot about him and that his shirt was too big and no one could see it.
Yeah, he was like, if I wore a better shirt, I was like, bro, you got nothing to show. Keep your shirt on. Yeah, anyways, that dude, Ricky, is hilarious.
Yeah. Anyways.
He is. That guy, he comes in. I'm like, it just starts. You like if you coach an affiliate and hopefully you tell jokes and try to mess around with people who want to like.
I never do that. I'm not the fun guy.
Like I told him one day, he like was going and trying to get me. I we kept going. I was like, dude, I could do this all day. What do you?
I'm dying. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm dying. Oh so good one, CJ. I love you so much. Thank you. What did CJ said.
Oh yeah. What do you spell them out to her? Negative. Phonetically though, I read them to her.
Oh, CJ.
Maybe you should work on your spelling, Todd.
Yeah, Heather, you can use CJ's comment. My spelling is atrocious, dude. But I also have been diagnosed with dyslexia. So there's that.
I can't.
I'm glad you got enjoying that.
That's all right. I think you spelled Miko Triangle, Miko Triangel in
because anyways, because I was trying to, yeah. Anyways.
Oh man. Okay. Anyways.
Okay. Not all the time. It didn't always say triangles. It was just because anywho.
Then Marissa's bringing up one of my jokes because I claimed I'm not
Yeah,
the
we're
fun
not
guy.
gonna read that one.
Okay.
We're so derailed right
Yeah,
now.
we are. Tyler, what do you want the season to be like? What do you want the season to be like? Listen, we had a whole thing planned about training and training education, and then
We're getting there. We're
like
getting there. Come on.
right as soon as we were gonna get on, the thing
Marissa and
popped up
CJ are
with
just friggin' on it.
from
Let's
CrossFit
go.
Games, and we just all right. Now here we are. Triangles for fun.
All
Tyler,
right, Tyler, what do you want? Season,
What would you
go,
want?
shoot.
Oh, man.
I want it all to like the open and quarterfinals being online, that's fine. But I liked it the way it was. I know you said like no regionals, but I loved regionals. I love the way that it was like in person. I don't like how they're gonna do so much more online. So that's more of like what I don't like as opposed to what I do like. But
Well, I feel
I
like
don't know.
the
wait, hold on.
Oh.
Come on, don't. No, you gonna get your turn.
Okay.
Is it what else you got? Is that it?
Pretty much.
Okay.
But to say this, I'm also glad that we're having a season. I'll
Yeah.
just say
All right.
that.
That's fair. As Pedro says, good stuff. Heather.
No, I was just gonna say I feel like the reason why they're going online is financial. Like they have to spend so much money to put on these regional events, and people don't really realize that how much it really takes to do that. And then, athletes come in and they complain about all their entry fees and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, we talk about this all the time, but it's like athletes should be paying $1,000 to go and throw down at these types of events. Because if you're not going to do it, the next person's going to do it. Just for the longevity of the sport and just what you actually get out of it and what they're actually doing. Because I don't think CrossFit's really making any money, but I also feel like that's the thing that people train for and want to go for. So it's like unfortunate because it's like people are like, well, I'm not going to do it anymore. Like there's no in person, everything's online. What's the point? So that's like the thing that people actually enjoy doing. But I don't know. Like I think
So what would you want it to look like?
Well, I would still love for it to be like the semifinals regional format, because I think that's just, for those athletes, like to Harley's point of like that aren't quite making it to the games or they're that semifinal level, like that's their games, right? Like that's their big event. And so because the funnel is getting so tight to even qualify for, the games, semifinals, all of that, it's just like you take away that stage, and then I feel like it's just almost impossible for anyone to really compete at that level unless they're going to events like Wadapalooza, Fittest of the Coast, things like that. So I would like for them to continue doing that, but I feel like if it goes to fully online, it's mostly a financial thing. That's what I would think.
Okay.
With did they say that they were going to do with like when they did the games for COVID, like they're going to send people out? Because that's the thing is like this is all going to be like camera angles and stuff, and that I think that's been such a big problem with it.
Yeah, there's just a lot of rumors. They're not doing that aspect of it.
Okay.
They could do like something. Well, Harley, give it to us and then I'll go.
Yeah, I think that the question is what I want it to be. Hearing the idea of the rumor of like other entities taking responsibility or taking on that financial load, it's, I believe that that's what they did this past year, right? That's why it was West Coast Classic again. And they had already sort of allocated some other entity to take over the role of putting on that in-person event. And I think that after watching West Coast Classic and how under attended it was, how empty the stands were, and how they tried to do this big cool thing of like going back to Carson, which honestly that venue location isn't the best, especially from like a tourism standpoint. There wasn't much to do outside of the venue.
It was expensive.
And it was super expensive as a whole, tickets and getting there. I don't think it really set that whoever runs West Coast Classic, Loud and Live, right? It didn't really set them up to have like a lucrative experience. And if they do it like that again, like I don't think that they can support it. To Heather's point, like they're probably not making any money, especially not this past year at West Coast. So what I would like it to be is sure, like have some sort of in-person event, even if it's just individuals or it's, something at a smaller venue and like making it happen, because I believe that's what's driving the middle range athlete to dedicate themselves to this process. I think that having something to work towards and the dream of chasing it for year after year, like that's what keeps people going and keep people really bought into, the process and striving for more and asking more of themselves. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I'm a little pessimistic about the potential because I truly think that they're just like running out of money and they don't have the funding to do it. So I'm expecting it to be all online to whatever degree that means. And I don't think it's going to be a fair deal of the cards for everyone. Seeing what happened with the step ups this past year in quarterfinal, how many truly high level and special, athletes got major penalties to the point that they didn't even get to go to semifinals. Like, that's pretty crazy. So if that's happening to them, it can happen to anyone and everyone. They've already talked about not having the funding to hire people to review all of the videos. They're already reviewing such little amounts of videos that like the level of fairness across the leaderboard is going to be completely skewed. Optimism, the optimistic perspective is that I think that's going to really level up the other events throughout the year. I think it's going to increase attendance and signups for all of these other events that have been growing year after year and putting on really solid events year after year. Fittest to the Coast, Crash, if you can get into it, cool, Wadapaloozas of sorts, and everything in between. I think that those events are really going to grow if the season goes to that fully online, level, because these middle range athletes are looking for something to do, and they ideally are doing it because they love it. And so they're going to keep doing it.
Okay. Yeah. Those are all good stuff. All right. I've thought about this a lot. So I was going to go last because I don't want to ruin people's perspectives. Okay. Point number 1, you do the open. The top 10 qualify for the CrossFit Games. Everybody else gets an opportunity to not only, you got to do the open, so everything funnels through the open. So keep quarters, but maybe call it like online semis, whatever you want, or change it. Just like open and then, semifinals. Fuck it. Open, semifinals. They do that to then get another opportunity to qualify for the games. Those scores can now be taken, and they did this in 2019 to some of these events. You do have to go on Competition Corner and pay an entry fee, and they will take the workouts that you did that were selected by CrossFit in season, and they will rank you on that leaderboard, which then defers, like what Harley's saying, the watching of videos. So let's say we are Syndicate Crown, and you do the open and you do quarters. Your scores go to Syndicate Crown because you've also paid, let's say, the $50 to be on the Syndicate Crown leaderboard. Then that $50 that you paid, and you have to do no other workouts. You already did the open workouts. You already did the quarterfinal workouts. Those workouts are done. Those are your scores for the season. And Syndicate or Wadapalooza or whatever uses that system, those events. So you only do those events, those online qualifiers, one time that year. You just pay the $50 to get on the leaderboard to go and travel to these in-person events that are held by those companies that are already doing stuff. Similar to sanctionals, you have the opportunity to have, let's say, 3 spots qualify to the CrossFit Games. So you have 10 athletes, male, female, going to the CrossFit Games already from the open. Then you do quarterfinals for everybody else who did not make that 10. Those quarterfinal workouts and your ranking from the open go into the one. And then those go in. Once you've done those workouts, you then can, like, quote unquote, apply, pay your money to get on the leaderboard. They will rank you based on the ones you could spend all, let's say there's 10 events and you want to spend $500 in entry fees. You pay that $500, you get your name put on every leaderboard. However many people they're going to take, let's say they're going to take, 60 athletes to compete. You go and compete against those 60 athletes in person after the videos have been verified by the organization that they are done. And then top 3 go to the CrossFit Games. So you get to compete in person. You've done the online qualification. The video review process is deferred out to somebody else. Obviously, the top 10 people in the open will get video reviewed because that's 20, even if you do whatever, how many workouts, let's say they do 4 workouts, it's only 40 videos to watch, or sorry, 80. And not that you're going to watch all 80, you know, but watching a few is enough. And then also from that point on, you then, in a secondary thing, this would take a lot of collaboration. You could earn points, and the way they could do this is the same thing like golf and stuff. But let's say you end up in top 300 in the world or in your region, or however they want to do this. And you start accumulating points that could bid you into certain things. So event organizers, let's say I'm top 300 in the world. That gives me enough notoriety to email Crash and say, hey, you know what? Out of these things, I've accumulated these points. I've done this stuff, or I've gone to this competition in person and I got 20th. And that gives me X number of points. I did this well in the open. I did this well in quarterfinals. This gives me X number of points. I have a score of, let's say, 78 competitive score. And let's say somebody else applies to Crash and says, hey, I want to come compete here. I have a score of 64. Then JR just takes the person with 78 points over the person with 64 points, and you've earned it on your merit. And I know there's like you have to do the video review process and everything else. The last piece is open sourcing videos to only level 2 coaches. So anyone who's got their level 1, then took their level 2, who then can go on, and like you could outsource it to the world. You can have the world look at them, but unless you have your level 2 certification, you can't judge a video. So your level 2 or whatever, level 3, if that's how far down the road they want to go. And you can thumbs up, thumbs down a video. So it's open source, but to higher level or affiliate owners. So you're decreasing the pool. And because you'd have to sign into CrossFit and to be on there like it used to be, my CrossFit identification code would be linked to me pressing thumbs up and thumbs down, which then if someone felt or found out that I was being punitive and just thumbs downing somebody or attacking somebody, my verification code, my CrossFit ID would be linked to that thumbs up, thumbs down. So I would have accountability the same way they do like in collegiate sports. Like you're a ref, you take the reffing. If you're doing a bad job, they end up going, hey man, you got to get reviewed. You're making too many bad calls. Same way, they'd send me an email and be like, hey, look, you're making too many bad calls. You got to go ahead and XYZ, whatever they want to do. That would also like help people. Cause like, let's say, someone like Hiller, he can't vote on people. I don't know where his certifications are, but let's just say he's let his certifications lapse because he's no longer an affiliate owner and he doesn't have his level 2. Well, he can't vote. And if he wants to get his level 2, guess what he's got to do? He's got to pay $1,000 to CrossFit and take his certification process, which then increases CrossFit's dollars. You then increase something, and then you can add another layer to it and partner with the AFJ and have the AFJ come in and have a certification that they're partnered together, and it's approved certification, counts to your CEUs within CrossFit. They get paid. CrossFit will continue to get paid because you're continuing your education as a coach and you continue the ecosystem. And then now you're an AFJ certified judge. So you could have more power within the online process, whether that's the open or quarterfinals or semifinals, whatever we want to call that online piece. And then obviously like you get the AFJ thing, you go coach, you go ref at some of these in-person events, give it more opportunity because you have a certification process through the AFJ. The hope would be that all of these people getting certified, and maybe you create membership dues for the AFJ the same way the USAW does. And then you start creating stipends for those judges. So those judges get paid through themselves paying in. And then you also get event organizers, like Heather said, increasing the cost to come compete in person. So then they can siphon some of that money to pay the judges to get paid. Because like you look at NCAA Division I basketball, a basketball ref gets like $50 a game, right? So if you got $50 a day, it's a lot of money, like $150 for a weekend. But then that's per judge. And I know that's like not a lot, but people already do it for free. So like building it into that space and that system that way, I think would build a better business model for everyone. I've thought about this a ton, and I don't want to run CrossFit. There's obviously going to be errors there and holes and stuff, and you guys can poke on them, which would be great. But I think solid solution.
I've got 2 or 3 questions. One,
Yes.
do you think that, well, you alluded to it of doing like 4 workouts for the open, but if it qualifies 10 people, don't you think that it should be more?
Yeah. I just threw that number out. It could be, it has to be an odd number. I think that's,
Yeah.
I'm also in favor of the P score system.
Mhm.
I think that should, if you beat, like, okay, let's go back to the front squat from 2021, the most bullshit ass thing of all time, because my wife beat people 3 out of, I forget how many were, or was there 4 workouts for the quarters?
2021.
Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. Let's just say there were 4 because I can't remember if there's 4 or 5.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. She beat numerous people 3 out of 4 workouts. But because that value of the front squat, she should have gone to semifinals. 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Still, that's a winning number. 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
And same thing with Alex Parker. Those 2 athletes should have gone to semifinals in 2021. They missed out on the fittest people. And when I say fittest, across broad times, multiple domains, in your definition of fitness. So don't play with me because you overvalued, and I'm not going to throw shade because she is fit. I like her. You overvalued someone like Bryn Carlin, who front squatted a house, which is great and amazing. And at the time, Kelsey Kills is now, she's very fit, put in a ton of work. She's very fit now. But at the time, not as fit across broad times and multiple domains as some of these other ladies. And it happened on the men's field too. I just personally have those anecdotes because I work with both those athletes. And then I know those other 2 athletes really well, and they were outliers for that. And there was more than just them. It's not like I'm making a small comparison of that. There was more girls, when you pull the data, skewed it way, way far.
Right. And that's why I think that the open should be much more involved, much more.
Yeah. Just
rounded.
like, what's up, CrossFit? I see you on everyone's podcast. I feel like I'm famous. Thanks for watching. Does P score hide unbalanced tests? Yeah, that's the idea. The idea is that you're pulling up the averages of what people are doing and measuring them against the performances of those individuals, which is within the nature of CrossFit. And that's what they tried to do very well. It's not perfect by any means, but it's better than the 1-point system or the 100-point system. It proves to be better.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, when they run it against like some of the stuff like they did with Rogue, and it changed the men's leaderboard pretty drastically and only flipped 2 of the spots on the women's leaderboard. So it's not much different than in the outcome, but in a broader pool, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
That with the open or like quarterfinals, I think that is a bigger reason to have it because the pool is so much bigger. With a smaller pool, it doesn't happen as much. So, and Tyler Watkins did all that work. I really like the work he's done. He's gotten help from Alexis Mathis, and a lot of other people have worked on that. I guess you'd call it an algorithm. But let's see what CrossFit says. Post P score doesn't always make sense if the athletes don't know. Yeah, that's true. Because you could have somebody in an earlier heat, or like you could have someone in the late heat. So that is fair, but like it does measure effort, right? Because if you go out there and you give what people like to say is their best effort and you finish minutes before everybody else, the likelihood of them also trying to finish close to you, if they don't have that fitness, is pretty low. Like when you start coaching people, like, you see that even in a CrossFit gym on the rower, you got some people who are like rowing a 202 and there's no possible chance that they're going to row a 145. So like it doesn't really matter. It is like fitness based and it's pretty fixed in that small example. And obviously, like, again, it's not perfect, but when we play it out across a lot of events, or like that open example, and there are more open examples like that. 2015 is a very similar example. The time cap from 2019 with the front squats and the squat cleans, people would sandbag and hit the thruster as far as like team competition is concerned. Trying to get people into quarterfinals, you could just have someone. I mean, we had people do that because we took advantage of the rules. People just barely did any shuttle runs and burpee pull-ups and come up and throw up a 350 thruster, 1 RM.
Yeah.
And that was in the rules. You're allowed to do that. Like it's cheating, but it's a gray area there. Yeah, I couldn't actually answer that question very well. Tyler he's gone over this. There's a system for breaking the ties. I didn't write the algorithm, but yeah, I get that. He has some weird system But yeah. Let's see. I walked, got the same score. Yeah, a lot of people did walk on the shuttles. Let's see.
Yeah.
Merce puts, it depends on how big the deviation off the top score, which varies a lot from event to event. Sure, that is like the point of it. Because then, if you're super fit, you're not going to be far. Like, I mean, you already see it. Rogue, for example, those guys racing to the end line, the top guys. You know, Jason Hopper and I can't think of his name right now. Jeffrey Adler. You know, racing to the end, or Dallin Pepper almost got caught by somebody because his legs didn't work and he was trying to get to the end. Like, they're within seconds. So let's, in the P score, for a small example, like the person who gets first gets 100 points. The person who came behind him by like 1 second, because the standard deviation isn't so great, gets 99.9999 points, which is deserving because you were hundredth of a second behind him.
Mm-hmm.
You should still get those points. And then, like, let's say somebody is 2 minutes behind, is going to now get 67 points in that workout. Just saying, like, those are arbitrary numbers. So it makes sense though, because you were 2 minutes behind that person. Like, you shouldn't. Let's say you
get 95 points,
right? Let's say the first place Matt Fraser comes through, and then second place was 2 minutes behind Matt Fraser, which has happened. You shouldn't get 95 points. His fitness is measurably way more than yours, right? So it fits into like that point system fits into their ethos and methodology and everything else you learn. But again, like I said, there are issues there. Okay. I like this one. I try to go back. Mike Hughes, Todd for CrossFit president. Again, it's not perfect. I just have spent a lot of time. I mean, obviously as a coach and like my frustrations, and I tried to turn my frustrations into solutions and like, how would this look? How would I enjoy it?
Yeah.
If I was king for the day, like, what would I want it to be? And then what's also fair for the athletes? What makes sense? Could people follow it? Because like the biggest argument CrossFit is that the P score, it's hard to follow. It is hard to follow. Like, so it doesn't make it super enjoyable to watch. Yeah. Or if you're catching and you don't peg boards. Yeah, that's true. She would have not won the 2016 CrossFit Games over Tia. Tia would have got her first win in 2016 because she whomped on her in the thrusters and pegboard. And because the point system that they had at the time at the games, Katrin won the CrossFit Games. Now, within the rules and the context of that, she's still the fittest on earth for that year. I don't want to take that away from her by any means. But yes, you change the point system, you would get a different winner. And that's what I want to solve. And again, we've played this out. I've had this conversation with like numerous people, and Tyler is my buddy and he runs a lot of these like theoretical models, and there's no good system realistically. So it's just trying to find like the quote unquote best system that is the most fair within the methodology. They could also just change the way they program and the methodology. And that would then, not saying the fittest on earth across broad times, small domains, and trying to find who's good at running, jumping, swimming, throwing, you change all that. Every second counts. Actually, you're bringing up dude, this guy, you are adding so much value right now. So like originally, I think people don't realize this. So 2007, all the CrossFit events they didn't do that until 2008. Excuse me. 2007, because they had the CrossFit total. I don't know how they scored that, but in 2008, they had every event was for time. So you were ranked by your total time across every event. And then even they threw another wrinkle into it, whereas the last event, they had the top 10 guys do the squat. Well, what turned into like a squat clean thruster and Jason Kleba got so famous for was a delayed start. So the person who had the least amount of time started first, and then everybody else started like in a waterfall based on the differential of time that they were in the total time of all the events, which is kind of wild that they even like thought of that. And then we're able to implement it, and it wasn't weird because even then Jason Kleba came from behind and was like 8th place or something, and then became the fittest on earth for 2008, and he never stopped talking about it. I laughed the other day because he said it on their like train hard thing episode, and I was like, man,
that he won the game.
Oh. Well, he's like CrossFit Games champion, and I was like, in a couple of years, that's literally 20 years ago. Like, when is he going to stop saying? I mean, he's earned it, so maybe fuck it. Ask Danielle Brandon if he's allowed to say that or not. I don't know.
Why Danielle Brandon?
She's like in charge of that stuff.
Oh.
No, she like ridicules people for putting like games athlete in their bio when they went to the games as a team.
Yeah.
TEAM.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I'm sure she'd ridicule people who's a TEN, a teen, or even a master's athlete. Like, how does she feel about those people? Let's have her weigh in one day, see what she thinks. Let's see. Marissa said they should call it "Who is the best at these particular events, games." Yeah, that's true. Sometimes she's in charge of that stuff. I'm dead. She is. Daniel Brennan is very vocal, and it's her opinion. And like you could nominate her to have the opinion of like she is the lawmaker of what you can and cannot put in your bio as a CrossFit Games athlete.
I didn't know that was a thing. Apparently, that's a thing.
It is a thing.
She's created it.
Yeah, Taylor Self was. They went back and forth. It was a whole thing. It was hilarious. But anyways, I don't really care. All right, that was my. I gotta change our title now, just to CrossFit Games
training and training education.
Yeah, we're gonna do that next time, next week. But I mean, it was good that the news came out. You know, it was like 10 minutes before we got on. Digest a little bit, talk about it, talk about the CrossFit season. I don't really know what's gonna happen. I think the way I have it is a cool idea. I always try to think from a business like mind and how people can generate money, because that's how regardless of what you think or perceive, like that's how the world goes around right now. Like even in, dictatorships and communist economies, like whatever, it's like money's got to, you got to give and take somehow. Like there's no way no one's going to build your house for free, you know? Mm-hmm. So, Marissa, you could, you could put future CrossFit president in your bio. I like that. Thanks, Mike Hughes. But yeah, I always try to think of like, okay, what's the most sustainable thing? And then what's the thing that people don't really understand? So like on a small example and tangent is like, I was talking to somebody, I'm like, there's little things that people don't realize that your CrossFit gym membership pays for. And it's little things like just the Spotify account. So you're playing ad-free music, and like, I get it. Okay. You have one member, some of their membership goes to that account, but it's like, all the other little things, toilet paper, paper towels, soap, chalk in the chalk buckets, paying somebody to clean. Like, it's not just like an easy solve, like one member pays for that. It's like, no, there's so many of these costs that we don't see. And you see them if you ever own your own small business. Like, I think those people typically have a better understanding. Affiliate owners have a better understanding, a deeper understanding than somebody. And there's no slight on people who, like Heather did it. I've done it. You work on a job, you go in, you clock in, you work there, you get paid, you go home, you do your specific thing. I don't know what that was. I shouldn't read the comments. And so like, it's just building that inside CrossFit too. There's so many things that we don't understand that they pay for, just even having the game site. Like, let's say like your small entry fee of having a website, as most people know, if you use like Squarespace, it's like $300 to $700 a year, and I know that's not a lot of money, but that's just to have a website. Let's not even talk about the leaderboard, the entry, the data storage. It's, all of that stuff. Then someone's got to code it. Someone's got to manage it, put up new pictures. Someone today had to put up that post about the 2015 CrossFit Games safety protocols and what they're going to do. Someone had to write that post. Someone, like, they're not doing it for free. Like, they have to get paid to do that. And so it just creates this like really big thing that people think is really simple, and it's not, because even the plan I laid out has a lot of moving parts and a lot of chinks in the chain and a lot of cooperation that is has to be done by CrossFit, would have to be done like simplest level of the guys who own Fittest of the Coast.
Yeah.
And sometimes
a lot of collaboration, outsourcing, all of that.
And I do think people have a hard time because when you collaborate, you're giving up freedom. You are. And so like, that's hard for some people because people really want to like own their thing and whatever else. But if you ever read like game theory or anything, it shows you how like collaboration actually is the best way. And they've run these algorithms on game theory, and that when you collaborate versus defecting, it's actually much better when you collaborate, but you defect sometimes when you don't agree with the situation. So to Tyler's point, to round it back out, having people inside the safety protocols they defect against CrossFits at times, and then have collaboration and at times to make sure. And when those times are appropriate, will create the outcomes that you're looking for. If they're inappropriate times to collaborate or defect, you have a huge issue within your organization. And they've run those tests. And you can read the book Game Theory. Most people haven't. Most people are like, what'd you just say? Right over my head.
Yeah.
Anywho, it's cool. All right, we're gonna have a season. We know what we want. We're not gonna get it, and we're gonna like it. It's like going to Thanksgiving and everybody's bringing. It's coming
Here
up.
we go. Yep.
Everybody's bringing something, and you're like, "I please, someone bring something good." Right? It's like that.
It's like how we talked about yesterday, how there's no gluten in any Thanksgiving food.
I didn't say there's no gluten. I just said you
There's
could have
minimal gluten.
Sure. I said you could have a pretty healthy Thanksgiving dinner relative to some other things, like Halloween candy is a good example.
I'm just rounding out our banter,
I know.
at the end here.
Well,
ridiculous
before we
conversations we have.
Yeah, we do have ridiculous conversations. We'll end it with this little story. I told Heather, I was like, Thanksgiving dinner. My wife and I talk about this a lot. Thanksgiving dinner itself is pretty healthy in nature, right? Like if you go the classic stuff like stuffing, potatoes, cranberries, turkey, gravy, let's just like stay with that. It's pretty classic, right? Almost single source ingredients for the most part, pretty low in a lot of stuff. But then don't add any of the other things in there. You're doing a pretty good job. Whereas like a birthday, obviously there's gonna be like cake at the end. I see the comment about pie.
No, pie is his favorite.
Pie is my but you could exclude it. You could refrain from that and still have a very good, nutritious, delicious dinner that's
so tell them the story. Tell them the whole story.
So that was it. And then that was it. And we got an argument about it because there's gluten and stuffing. And so you get into the nitty gritty and the details of stuff. But realistically, like, come on, eating turkey and cranberry sauce, pretty good for you, you know?
This guy knows what's up.
Yeah. Good stuffing and good potatoes.
In conclusion,
that's true.
Enjoy yourself on Thanksgiving.
Well, that was, the real I told Heather, I was like, I'm going to try because like I feel better when I cut out like gluten, and I'm going to try to start cutting it out more and more. And my wife's helping me with that. She doesn't have a whole lot of gluten anyway. She's got like an intolerance to it. So I've been trying to do that and get out processed things and just have, more meats, vegetables, nuts, seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar style. And then she's like, that's a good idea to do it right before Thanksgiving. I was like, just doesn't mean
I just know that I'll think will matter, like, which is fine. And it shouldn't matter. You should enjoy Thanksgiving.
I know.
But I just thought it was a funny thing for him to say. That's all.
Yeah. But I then told her, I was like, yeah, but in that statement, it means like, why even do these couple of days / week and a half before Thanksgiving? Because you're going to eat like shit on Thanksgiving. I was like, way to just like rain on that. Yeah. I'm trying to have healthy habits over here. Someone's like, just give it up.
That's what I said. But anyway, we fight every day. Every day.
Good. It's good. It's how you grow. If you don't have people in your life to help you grow, and hopefully CrossFit finds those people in their life. Never tried cranberry sauce.
You're not missing out.
Really? Oh my God.
It's delicious.
Seriously.
It depends.
I mean, if you get it from the can, definitely I would.
Or if it has cranberries in it.
Oh.
Solid.
My brother he'll like eat that whole can by himself. I'm like, gross.
It's pretty delicious. I like cranberries in general.
I do too.
All right, we got on a huge tangent only because of I'm happy, but I'm also sad because I was like excited to talk about training and training education.
Okay, next week we'll save it.
All right, we'll save it. But it's good to have some information. And we'll see. Why didn't they just release it today? Like, hit me with it all. I don't even care. Rip the Band-Aid off. Tell me that thing, and then tell me what the season.
And I have to wait 48 hours. You'll get more information.
I know. Oh, sorry. We want this to settle in a little bit. I don't. Let's go. It's time to go. All right. Let's get it going. Is there really Ocean Spray cranberry sauce?
I don't know.
Oh,
that's all they do, man. Is cranberries.
Oh my God. That is true.
That's funny.
All right. Cool. That was a good one.
All right.
I'm glad Harley's internet went out. Pay your
Aw.
internet bill.
Dang.
Like
Is it
and
snowing there?
I don't know.
Oh.
Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. Give us things to talk about. We always try to do a good job of bringing some stuff up, having some content. And hopefully this brings the CrossFit Santa and it all turns around, because I love coaching CrossFit and competitive CrossFit. I really don't care what the season looks like. I'm pretty agile. I want more people to be agile. It could be better though, but hey, whatever. Any finishing thoughts?
Nope.
Not a one.
Cool. Tyler talked this time. I love it.
I talked last week too.
True.